Bonjour, everybody. Hi, this is Neshi Wilcox. Welcome to Star Nation's organization's main fan page and the card draw live stream for the day, which is Thursday, July 12th, 2018. And it's a good day. It's a good morning. I have to say I'm a bit tired. Why? I did it to myself again. Why do they put good movies on at 10 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock at night? It was my fault. I was working on Star Nation's videos, the shows from Tuesday and Wednesday, and I was working with Soul Connections, which is Polly Joe's healing hour and divine messages. And so I was working with the video to get it uploaded to YouTube and promoted and all that. So while I was waiting, I was doing other things, and I got those things done, and I sat down, and the video was still uploading, and so I was turned the TV on, flipping through the channels, because I hardly ever watch TV. And I saw this movie that I haven't seen in a long time. And so I started watching it and taking care of the video. And before I know it, Paul's home. Paul comes home about 11:45 or so, 11:30. And we started talking. And I thought, well, while I'm up, I may as well save the video, to convert it into the MP3, the audio, for SoundCloud. And so I did that, and I've forgotten how long it takes to do that. So I ended up finishing the movie and not getting to bed until 1 o'clock. And the teenager in me enjoyed it. I had some fun, but it's that getting up at 6 or a little bit before 6 to be able to help mom with stuff. And so 5 hours sleep when you're not used to it is not good. So we have coffee this morning. Caffeine, because it's going to get me through the day. I need to also start making preparations for the weekend. I'm having company here, and my sisters, four of us will be getting together of the 6, and so I'm making preparations. We're going to be hanging out, talking, visiting, cooking, and then we're going to have some fun. We're going to do some journey work. And so that's what I'm preparing for. So anyway, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Star Nations, to the morning card draw. And it's a card, of course, that we've gotten before, because we've almost made it all through the whole deck. I think there's only maybe 4 cards that we haven't received yet. And so, hey, good morning, Stephanie. Thanks for joining. Appreciate it. So this is the card that came this morning. The Whirling Rainbow, Unity, Wholeness Achieved. And we've received this card, probably about 3 times. This might be the 4th. And this particular image, the Whirling Rainbow. This is the prophecy of the Whirling Rainbow, comes from the Navajo and Hopi nations. And that's out in the southwest part of the United States, Turtle Island. And the whirling is a piece that was kind of taken by Nazi Germany and turned into the swastika. Yeah, it was co-opted. They were co-opting even back then. And the prophecy itself actually is it's a woman called Whirling Rainbow Woman, and she brought a prophecy to the Hopi and to the Navajo, and that was about the people coming together as one in wholeness and unity. And the prophecy goes that there will be a generation that will I think she writes that they'll wear beads and feathers, but they're not native. And that this generation will actually help bring an understanding of that unity, and actually to protect Grandmother Earth. And and I can't remember. I think it's in like the third or fourth world is how they put it in their traditions. And basically, that's the generation of the new age, right? It started in the 60s, actually, and into the 70s. And there's some of us, good morning, Jocelyn. There's some of us that kind of remember that. Um, the tree huggers, the hippies, that era. And most of the people I know were either adolescents or teenagers during that time frame. Because let's see, I grew up in the 60s. And so I remember the equal rights, the March for Equal Rights, and, with Martin Luther King. I was just a child during that time frame. I remember bits and pieces of the demonstrations against the Vietnam War. But what I do remember most are the love-ins. Do you remember that? With peace, and they had the flower children and all that. Yeah, that's what the Whirling Rainbow Woman prophecy was basically about. And that they were going to bring the meaning or the essence of what unity could be based on love. And in the prophecy, it actually talks about how some of the rainbow children went off the path and succumbed to the addiction of drugs and alcohol. And so the meaning became distorted, and but the seeds were planted is basically what she writes about. And then she says that there's the rest of the prophecy was released and talked about when the buffalo came back, the return of the buffalo, and we've seen that. The buffalo were hunted almost to extinction, and which was completely out of balance. And so anyway, when the buffalo returned, which means that there were herds again out on the Great Plains, and some of those herds basically had been domesticated, and then there were others that were released back into the wild, and those herds are growing, right? And to the point where, the stuff that was happening at Standing Rock, we got to see quite a bit of things revealed during that time frame. And that was when I think most of the world realized and found out that some ranchers and our government hunt bison so that they can make room for the cattle, And so many of us didn't even know that, how they get rounded up and put on a truck and taken away and basically killed, right? But the return of the buffalo also signaled another part of the prophecy, and that was that many of the rainbow children were going to be coming back to the path of beauty, and bringing with them that desire that's in their heart to bring people into unity, into wholeness, and also to protect Grandmother Earth. And I think we're seeing that. We're seeing that today. And those rainbow children turned into rainbow warriors. And I do believe that there are many generations that fall into that. It's not just the new age generation. I believe the millennials also fall into that because I witnessed it. Now they don't have the same kind of drive, the same kind of commitment levels right away. But I tell you what, when a millennial generation, when they have something that means a great deal to them, they will put everything on the line to support and stand up for it. And I saw that. I witnessed it. And so a lot of people talk about millennials like, that we don't know what to do with them. They're completely different from us. They don't have the same work ethic. They don't have this and they don't have that. But I can tell you that when their heart is in it and they can get behind it and they believe in it, they move mountains. They are steadfast, they are persistent, and they're willing to learn. And to tell you the truth, they're willing to remember, because many of those millennials are the children that began coming in with much of their memories intact. And so some people would call it a miracle, I suppose. Good morning, Jocelyn. And Marcia's with us. Good morning, Marcia. Oh, it's so good to see you guys in the chat room. And Rob is here. Good morning, Rob. Jocelyn is saying, I remember that very well. Rob says, wasn't the initial motivation for hunting the buffalo in the 1970s? Yes, it was. It was meant to starve the Native Americans, the indigenous people. But, it was kind of dovetailed because the cost, well, I shouldn't say cost, when they would sell the hide out east, and then they would be shipped to Europe, the hides. And so the hides were a valued commodity. And so by taking as many hides as possible, the fallout from that meant that the indigenous people that lived by the buffalo, by the bison, endangered their lives. And so it was symbiotic, I guess, as if you can call it that. Stephanie say, I guess I fit that millennial group. You know what? I have nieces and nephews who are millennials, and and there's parts of my family that say, oh my God, what are they going to do? They don't have any drive. They don't have any ambition. They don't have this and they don't have that. They won't go to church. They won't do this. And, after witnessing what I did out in Standing Rock and friending some of them here on Facebook, I know in my heart, I know that when they have something to believe in their hearts, they will go to the nth degree for it. They're so committed, so committed. Yeah. Yeah, Rob is saying I was born a millennial in the 1970s. Oh, well, I grew up in the 70s. That was my teenage years. And so I remember the end of the Vietnam War, because my oldest brother was in the war. And I remember the sit-ins and the love-ins. Now, I wasn't part of it, okay, because I came from a really conservative, strict household, very traditional household. And so my brothers could be off doing whatever they wanted to do, but not me. I had the curfew. I had a curfew until I got married, for goodness sake. So anyway, I remember all of that. I remember when we started wearing the American flag on our clothing. And what does that mean, right? T-shirts, bandanas, stitched on the back of your jean jacket, tennis shoes. It became apparel. Now, from a Native American standpoint, in the 70s, we also had Wounded Knee in 1973, right? And so many of us were wearing the flag upside down, a show of distress, right? Which to this day, people get bent over that when they see something like that. And my point of view, my 2 cents, is that even today, when you see that, especially with Native Americans, it's tenfold from what it was in 1973. We were just getting started with the movement of equality and safety and that whole thing. But today, when you see it, it has a much broader and deeper, I believe, meaning to it in that distress signal. Yeah, I do. Rob is saying, perhaps they simply not so gullible. Why should I kill myself and give the best part of myself to enrich another whose sole motivation is to give as little in return as possible? That is so true. Millennials are not, they're not obtuse. They know what's going on. They follow it in a different way. They're not going to be stuck on corporate media. They're getting their information in alternative ways, and many times it's closer to the truth than what you see on corporate media. And so they're not hiding. No, they're not. When something means something to them deeply, they're moved. They are moved to action. They just don't sit around and talk about it like much of the older generations do. Of course, the older generations, we were spearheading, right? We've been doing this for a while, those protests and that sort of thing. And I tell you what, there is nothing like seeing and experiencing a range of generations, a range of race, a range of socioeconomic, a range of religious beliefs, all in one place, supporting one project, the protection of Grandmother Earth. The whole world got behind it, right? Standing Rock. And I remember hearing at the time he was president of Standing Rock Nation. He was speaking at, I don't remember where, but he was saying something about 5 years ago, 6 years ago, nobody knew where Standing Rock Reservation was. This tiny little blip on the map, nobody knew, and now the whole world knows. You say Standing Rock, and people say, "Oh, water protectors, sacred site protectors," stopping corporations, that kind of thing. And but there's nothing like it when you see that unity and that wholeness across the generations. There was nothing like it. And here, this is the card for those who are just joining us. We received the card Whirling Rainbow, which is unity and wholeness achieved. And honestly, I do believe that the movement of the protection of water and of the earth, the epicenter that brought it to the surface, I should say, was in North Dakota. Sorry, Cannonball, North Dakota, and it spread across the world. And who did that? Who did that? Social media did that. It was not corporate news. It wasn't the media. It was not them. It was the millennials. It was those people who are comfortable in using the internet and knowing how to travel the web, literally, and to know how to turn something into something viral that went across the world. And who did that? A lot of the millennials did, because that's their world, the technology, right? And yeah, and so having that wholeness, no matter. And really, Rob, there were people out there, and not even so much out there, maybe there were some, but there were many, many people who, from a financial standpoint, are very, very well off. And they were, financing the lawyers, those people who came and volunteered their time and effort, and to teach about what to do if you're arrested during an action, right? And they paid for things like semi loads full of food. When you have 10,000 people in one spot, and there were places that opened that were serving food. You didn't buy your food. You worked for your food. You went on actions. You split wood. You carried water, and you could eat anywhere that you wanted to eat, where somebody was offering food. And many of those people who had finances to be able to do that, but maybe didn't have the ability to break away from their daily life to be out in Standing Rock, they heavily donated. Yeah. So, to be able to witness and to experience the Whirling Rainbow prophecy in action was something else. um, yeah, and all the other things that go along with it, because there's um, the higher vibrational end of it and also the lower vibrational end of it, and witnessing the higher vibrational when they're in prayer and they're going on in action and they are singing the Sweat Lodge songs. People bringing their drums out to be able to sing. Watching do you remember that? The 500 plus clergy from all different religions who went there and stood on the 1806 bridge in front of a militarized police force and National Guard. And the clergy are talking to those members of the law enforcement, singing hymns to them and talking about peace. And the flip side of that, from that, there were several police officers who quit the force. Yeah. There were some from all over. Well, there was police enforcement from all over the United States that went there, and there were officers who quit because they could not cross that moral line again, that heart line, if you will, right? And so there were some good things that we didn't hear about on corporate news. Those that were reporting were actually they called it indigenous news media, indigenous media, I think it was. And so they started reporting themselves because nobody else would do it. But that was a good thing in the long run. It was. Hey, Mary Anderson Fry. I like saying your full name. You know that. Good morning, Mary. And Stephanie is saying, from what I have seen and experienced, we make the news in quite quiet ways that ripple. Yes, you're absolutely right with that, Stephanie. Because really, we are technically, those of us that are awake on our path, we experience this often, the unity and the wholeness achieved. Might be in small ways, it might be in huge ways like Standing Rock, but it's there. We experience it. Good morning, Margaret. And Rob is saying Standing Rock doesn't seem so bad lately. Hey, the 2016 election made sure we know who is in charge and what they were willing to do to maintain wealth and power. Yes, absolutely. I do believe that much was revealed because of Standing Rock. We always kind of knew that there was a corporate ownership of different aspects of the government of all levels, not just the highest level, of all levels. And I think that those that were witnessing, watching, active in the movement called Standing Rock, we saw it firsthand, what corporations can do, what they can buy, how they can bend things, and it wasn't just here in the United States. It happened across the world. There were movements that were started because of Standing Rock. There was this movement in the UK about underground mining of coal, and how a group of women actually got local laws changed so that they were safer, and they actually started closing some of the mines. And I'm thinking about was it Finland, Norway? There was movements all over the world regarding protecting Grandmother Earth, and how corporations mine, and the fracking and all of that, right? And so there was words that we didn't even know existed until that movement. But what I saw and what I felt was the coming together. And I was just on the periphery. I wasn't even in the center, the epicenter of things. I was on the periphery. Um, I have family members and friends who were much closer to the epicenter because they actually could get there, physically get there. Um, and yet, just I think it was 3 days ago. No, maybe it was Sunday. It was Sunday. I had to go someplace I'm not really joyful about going to. I had to go to Walmart. Um, yeah, because when you live in a small town, there's a certain limit of where you can go to go shopping, right? And there's certain things that my mom needs that can only be bought at that particular place. And so I had to go and do a run for her. I'm only there maybe once or twice a month anyway, but so I'm in there and Paul's with me and I was trying to pick out some sort of tea for her, and Paul is getting, he's trying to get my attention. And so I turned to look at him and I said, "What?" And he said, "Over there, over there." And I'm going, "What?" And I'm looking and I didn't see anything. And he walked up to me, Paul didn't, and whispered in my ear. He goes, "Look at that lady's t-shirt." Lady's t-shirt. And so, and by this time, this couple are walking away from us. And I said, "What was with her t-shirt?" And he said, "It said Minnie with Choni on it. I stand with Standing Rock." And I said, "Really? Wow. Okay." So we went on with our shopping and I ended up in the same aisle with them again. And I walked up to her and I'm standing there looking at stuff and I said, "Minnie Wachoni." And she turned and she looked at me and she goes, "Oh my God, Minnie Wachoni." All right, so here we are in the middle of Walmart, right? And we started laughing. I said, "Gosh, I should have said it louder. I wonder how many other people would have been yelling it from the other side of the store." So we stood there and talked. We don't know each other. We don't know each other at all. And but we were talking about our experience, not specifically at Standing Rock, but the support around it, because they were one of the homes that water protectors could stop at in their travels, either to Standing Rock or from Standing Rock, to be able to spend a couple days, sleep, get a shower, some meals, and then get back on the road to wherever they were going to. And they also raised a lot of money for the legal end of things, and they still are. So this Whirling Rainbow energy and the Rainbow Warriors, there's something that Jamie Sams has written about this that kind of jumped out at me, and I'd like to share it with you. She says that this is what she says about the prophecy. She said, "The buffalo will return to Turtle Island, and how the herds would be once again numerous. After the time when the buffalo returned, the generation following the flower children would see the dawning of the fifth world of peace." The grandmother Cece called the beginning of this fifth world the wobbly pony, on that being born would try to use its legs. She said that the wobble would be felt by Mother Earth, and changes would occur in the soil and the waters. Inside the children of Earth, the wobble would create rolling emotions and feelings that would bring the quickening and the remembering. Colorful dreams would be brought to the sleep time and dream time dreams of these newborn warriors of the rainbow, and they would begin to learn how to walk in balance. The changes in Earth Mother would create fear in her children, which would later lead to the understanding of unity of one planet, one people. One planet, one people. And I think we're there. We look at how many different huge earthquakes have happened in the last couple of years. The one that springs to mind whenever I mention this is the one in Japan, not the recent one, but the one before, or with the Fukushima incident, right? That's the one that always springs to my mind. But you also, all the earthquakes out of Mexico, in the last year. And so the rolling and the wobbling. And when we think of Grandmother Earth, when she's doing this, a lot of people will liken it to labor pains, right? Being birthed into the fourth or fifth dimension, maybe. Um, yeah. And the changing in her frequency, right? And we're affected by it. My goodness, we are surrounded by it. We're her children. We're going to feel it. And so when she goes through that, and Jamie Sams writes about how it will trigger memories, cellular memories of what it's like to be in a different field of frequency. And so as grandmother is in the fourth dimension and moving into the fifth, of course we're going to feel that effect. It affects us. And the memory, there's a reason why our soul contract, why we chose to be here on Earth at this time. It's not a coincidence. I believe that there are many, many of us that were at the first fall when Atlantis fell. I think that there are many of us that were there, and that we have the ability to help, be of service, so that we do make that move into the fifth rather than into the fall. I think that there are many of us who have the opportunity to make a different choice than we did the first time. And so it's no coincidence. And it's no coincidence that there are so many spiritual teachers and card readers, and there's a lot of people talking about the use of our gifts and identifying our gifts. How many times have you heard me say it? And that how we're grounding it to the earth plane through our physical bodies. That's all about bringing the whirling rainbow, that unity, that wholeness, to ground it to the earth plane in the fourth dimension. Those that aren't awake yet, and still residing in that energy field of third dimension, we're planting seeds along the way for those that will be waking up and will be saying, well, how do we do this? Where do we go? How do I find my gifts? And so we'll be talking to those people even more. So I hope this makes sense. I really, really do. Of course, Rob is saying, of course, you see how silent I've become. Wait a minute. I got to go back one. Standing Rock doesn't seem so bad lately. I read that one. Okay. I don't ever known you to be silent, though. Rob says, Atlanta seems like it was a tragic fall. I don't see the end of this age as tragic. Nope, I don't either. And I think that the fall of Atlantis has a lot of meanings to it. And the fall, this is going to seem a little, the fall was actually mankind two-leggeds moving from their heart to their brain. And so it really, you're moving up rather than falling. And we forgot a lot in that movement from the heart to the brain. And there's a story that goes about how the two-leggeds, in that loss of memory, that's where where the Neanderthal kind of ice age kind of stuff came from, is that we literally started over. It was like get wiped clean, and if you compare that time frame to where we are right now, we really are at the point that we were in Atlantis. Because look how much we use crystals, and that was one of the items. And in the fall of Atlantis was the misuse of power, misuse of power and knowledge. And look what we do with crystals today. Makes you think, doesn't it? Makes you think. And here we go. The Whirling Rainbow. Jamie Sams goes on to say is that many will remember their purpose for being on this earth walk and will learn to develop their gifts to assist the whole of humanity. And I think we're there. At least I see it. Do you guys see it? Do you feel it that we're actually there? Because there's so many more people who are saying that they know what makes them happy, and that's what they want to do. And how many slogans and memes are out there? Is living from your heart. Finding your joy. If you had to work at something that made you in a lower vibration and sad or angry or frustrated, then stop and go and do something else. How many places have we heard that message? Maybe not in quite those words, maybe more eloquent, but certainly we have been recognizing and seeing the change. So in the card application, it says that you are being asked to remove any type of discord from your life in order to grow. Don't feed the negativity. Look at any lessons being presented at this time, learn from them, then focus your attention on creating new beauty and abundance in your life. You need not take any issues of others when the discord is due to their lack of unity within themselves. Encircle any discord within the whirling rainbow of peace and consider the unity you have with the great mystery when you keep your eye on the goal and your feet on the sacred path of beauty. Remember that any challenges to unity are equal to your ability to overcome them. Yep. And the thing is that we have everything that we need to have this happen, to make it happen. Our gifts are innate. We came in with them. There's nothing that we have to buy. There's nothing we have to do. If we want to have more mastery over them, we can study them. We can apply that added information, to remember how to do this. We already have it. And our experiences, our formal and informal education is layered on top of that, only to be supportive and help, to be able to enhance your gifts, right? Enhance your gifts. That's why it's so important for us to continue our healing work on ourselves so that we remove any of the barriers, the interference to our original vibration, our original frequency, and interference with our gifts, right? So that we can use them and create with them here and continue that. So in the card draw for the animals, the medicine cards, I always ask what animal relative can help us to understand the essence of the card that was drawn. So the essence of the whirling rainbow for today, to help us with to understand it in a deeper way with more clarity. And so the hummingbird showed up. Hummingbird. Isn't that gorgeous? I love the artwork on these cards. Yeah, it's about joy. It's about joy. Let's see. Rob is saying, what kind of hippie wants to be happy? Almost all of them. And Margaret is saying, yes, I think we're there. Yeah, I do believe so. Stephanie's saying, I have to wonder if the whirling rainbow is an allusion to our place in the Milky Way and the transition of our place in relation to the universe from a larger perspective. Yeah, I think so. She says, think Horton hears a who. We're not the only ones going through this. The whole universe in its wholeness is also shifting and changing. So, yeah, and if we truly believe that we're all interrelated and that what we do affects others, it's just not on our blue planet. It's in the entire universe. And I have to say that because how Earth is structured to be this school of remembering and the school of duality, and this is not kindergarten. This is PhD level kind of stuff that we're doing. The mastery is that when our planet as a whole does its evolution, and the grandmother Earth goes up in her vibration, in her growth, it affects the entire universe. And so everybody is elevated because of that. And I'm sure, and we talked about this back in the 90s. I think at the last harmonic convergence, is that there's others in the universe and other universes that are intently watching, and in some instances assisting Earth and its inhabitants to be successful, because in our success is their success. Does that make sense? Yeah, we're not the only ones. Jocelyn is saying hummingbirds are so beautiful and they do bring joy. Don't they really? You have to smile whenever you see one. And Stephanie says, I love the symbolism in the hanging under the hoop. Yeah, I know. There's the shell, and there's an arrowhead. And I don't know, the feather, I don't know if it's loon, spotted feather. I'm not sure exactly what it feels right, is a loon feather. And I think that's another arrowhead, and then the tobacco pouch or medicine bag. And the different beads, the color beads, colors of the medicine wheel. You also have an acorn there. Yeah, it's good stuff. Hummingbirds, they're joyful. Just watching them, they're mesmerizing, aren't they? And the noise that they make. I've never heard a hummingbird call, but the sound of their wings when it's like a buzz, right? It's like a buzz. Yeah. Have you ever seen one on a branch fly? They're flying and then land on a branch. Have you ever seen that? I watched that, I don't know, maybe it was a year or two ago. And I was watching, you're trying to follow them. It's like watching them. And it landed on a branch. That was the first time I'd ever seen a hummingbird on a branch. It was interesting. So here's what Jamie Sam has to say about hummingbird. She says that it's associated with the ghost shirt religion. And for those of you that might not be familiar with that, that is a religion that was brought to the Great Plains from the Southwest by a medicine man or holy man called Wawolka, probably mispronouncing that. And the ghost shirt and the dance and the religious song that went with it was supposed to protect the warriors, because it was during the time frame every Native nations were already on reservations. There were some holdouts out west, and so the religion was about hope. It was about hope and survival. She says that the ghost shirt religion, which taught that a certain dance done properly would bring about the return of the animals, and that the white people would disappear. Well, we all know that didn't happen. The Mayans also have a belief about hummingbird. It is connected to the black sun in the fifth world. Hummingbird can give us the medicine to solve the riddle of contradiction of duality. That alone should help us to want us to have hummingbird in our lives, right? Because it gives us the medicine to solve the riddle of the contradiction of duality. The song of hummingbird awakens the medicine flowers and brings a vibration of pure joy. Great Spirit created hummingbird to be slightly different than other feathered creatures, and it's true. I mean, when you watch them, right? Let's see. Getting caught up in the chat here. Let's see. Stephanie is saying that I love the symbolism of of the hoop, and Jocelyn is saying all very meaningful. Absolutely. And Jocelyn goes on to say, I had a wren fly into my house today, Neshi. What would your meaning of this be? It was probably a house wren, right? There's a reason why the wrens live so close to us, two-leggeds. The house wren. I don't know. I would have to look that up. I know that they're small birds, and they have more than one brood in a season. So I think we're talking like 2 or 3 times that they lay eggs. Very abundant, wouldn't you say? Yeah, homey is what the word I'm hearing is, like homey. Yeah, cozy, a cozy home. And they live very close to us. And the thing is that because of that closeness, many times they're protected by that closeness. Their predators aren't quite as numerous if they lived away from our homes, right? Yeah. So Rob is saying, if I disappear, then I won't have to go to work tomorrow. Wait a minute. Tomorrow's Saturday. Would you work on us? No, tomorrow's Friday. Today's my Friday. I don't know. How would we know, Rob? How would you contact us if you disappeared to let us know that you've disappeared? How would you do that? Post-it note? A message on a mirror? I don't know. I'm teasing, It said, Jamie Samsonwright said, it said that hummingbird conjures love as no other medicine does. And the hummingbird feathers opens the heart. Without an open, loving heart, you can never taste the nectar and pure bliss of life. So if hummingbird is in your personal medicine, you love life and the joys of life. Your presence brings joy to others. And you may move comfortably within a beautiful environment and help others taste the succulent nectar of life. Hummingbirds, they quickly fly away from discord and harmony. And it says that if hummingbird has flown into your cards, get ready to laugh musically and enjoy the Creator's many gifts. Get ready for a strange new burst of energy which may send your senses reeling. Hummingbirds hear celestial music and is in harmony with it. They embrace the highest aesthetics. And never be coarse in front of a hummingbird, for this is a fragile medicine which may have no understanding of worldly affairs. Hummingbird's mission is to spread joy or to be destroyed. Hummingbird quickly dies if caged, caught, or imprisoned. So freedom, right? In freedom, they enjoy life. Jocelyn is saying it was like it wanted to visit me. The wren, it probably did. It probably did. Because, they have knowledge is what I'm trying to say. They have knowledge of our homes and how we live. They have knowledge of it. Stephanie looked it up. Wren, activity, vibrancy, alertness, efficiency, fastidiousness, using available resources, and the pet of the Virgin Mary. Wow, that's pretty good. Stephanie, could you put the resource in the comment, because that's pretty good. I like to add to resources when we can. That's pretty good. Thank you for doing that, Stephanie. Appreciate it. You know, when when the hummingbird is out of balance, it said that it may have sorrow and the inability to see many blessings. We two legs have been given. And it also means that we have to attend to our heart. Yeah, we have to attend to our heart. When the hummingbird medicine is out of balance, then we have to attend to our heart, to have an open heart, heal our heart. Also, if the hummingbird sings a song of forlorn, perhaps you should journey into your personal pain and know that your sorrow is your joy in another reflection. Let me say that again. Know that your sorrow is your joy in another reflection. Hummingbird. And so how do we pair the hummingbird medicine to the whirling rainbow, right? The obvious one is that when we have unity and wholeness, joy is found in that. And if we look at it from, okay, we're bringing joy to our hearts and to our lives, the medicine of the hummingbird, that is much easier, smoother to slide into unity because we can sense it. Yeah. Thank you, Stephanie. She put the link in. There's two of them. whatsyoursign.com, Celtic meanings, and also nativeamericantotems.com. Excellent. Thank you, Stephanie. That's a good one. So I hope that the information about Whirling Rainbow and Hummingbird helps us to kind of dial in or focus in. It's like on a camera aperture, you know, make it clear. How we can achieve unity. If we have peace, love, and joy in our hearts on the inside, we change the vibration around us. And when we do that, when we're carrying that frequency of joy that the hummingbird brings, that's why I said it's much easier to slide into the feeling and the frequency of unity. And like, who said that? It's a ripple effect. It's a ripple effect, right? So if you're looking for a class to help with healing aspects of your heart, the Mystical Energy Healings 101 with Polly Jo LeBay in person. She's coming out from Massachusetts here to Wisconsin to teach this class in October. And that weekend is all about healing the heart. Yeah. And so we're looking forward to it, that's for sure. And it's going to be fun just to have Polly Jo here. But she also has availability if you want a private session with her on the Friday before the class and the Monday after. And I think she's taking, I want to say it's eight individual sessions. I'm going to have to clarify that with her. It's either 4 or 8. And that's in October, the 11th and the 12th, that weekend. If you want more information, you can go to our website at starnations.org and go to the Academy page, and you'll see the information there, okay? Yeah, and with that, enjoy the rest of your Thursday. Take whatever we talked about today. If it resonated with you, great. Hold on to it and see how your day unfolds, how the energy of the Whirling Rainbow and Hummingbird, how it comes to you today. Are you a witness of something with unity and joy? Are you a direct participant in something concerning unity and joy? And if something didn't resonate with you, that's okay. Let that one go. Wasn't meant for you. And maybe, you know, those seeds gets planted. Maybe you talk about it with somebody else and it resonates with them. And then you can always point them back to the recorded show and they can see that, right? Good. Excellent. So we'll see you tomorrow for the card draw on Friday. And Bama Mina, until we see each other again.